Time now for Focus. As we've been reporting, it's been a year since Donald Trump won the US presidential election. His campaign and then his policies deeply dividing Americans. A report now by our team in California, the state at the heart of the anti-Trump resistance.
Trump and Pence are fascists!
For a year, scenes like this have become a ritual. Democratic Party supporters in Los Angeles protesting the Trump administration.
Our whole country is not the same anymore. It's a divided country. He no longer is a man that we can trust.
Protected by police, Trump supporters shout back.
Commies go home! Commies go home! We don't want your communism in America! This is our country!
A year after President Trump was elected, America is more divided than ever. California's college campuses have turned into political battlegrounds.
Hey man, Bruin Republicans are hosting a big event with Ben Shapiro.
UCLA is now a Democratic stronghold where these young Trump supporters don't feel welcome.
You know, oftentimes there'll be people making rude remarks, cursing at us. You really wouldn't dare. I've rarely ever seen any type of advertisements or anything for Trump here on this campus.
This Republican student organization is suing the university, claiming discrimination. They contend there is a lack of free speech on campus.
Campus fascism is essentially the hindering of conservative voices being spoken on campus. So in the past, like I've said, our events have been shouted down by protesters, sometimes by the administration.
Just coming out of English class right now.
Yeah.
We're talking about cultural appropriation. It's completely one-sided.
Yes, one-sided arguments. Yeah.
Like I'm afraid to bring up my side to it.
Why?
Just because the whole entire class is left-wing and the teacher's left-wing.
The Republican Party now represents just 25% of California voters, compared to 35% 15 years ago. But on this campus, the election of Republican Donald Trump has tripled the size of this student association.
I think now you have people on both sides that are wanting to stay active. You have people on the right that think, oh man, we pulled an upset, we won, let's safeguard it. You have people on the left that think we can't believe we lost. We need to do whatever we can to, resist.
The profound political cleavage encourages social divides. During the campaign, David Goss founded a dating website for Trump supporters.
It's making dating great again, because dating's become kind of a hardship on people with it, and so with the way that the division is, and so we're trying to make it great again, where you can go out, you can know you're just going to have a good time, and you can just go and enjoy each other's company without having to worry about, is this person going to walk out on me? Is this person going to judge me just because I have my own views? And they don't have to worry about anything like that.
Goss says his website exploded after the election and now has 50,000 members.
About 2-3 years ago, you could say, oh, I'm a Democrat or I'm a Republican. They'd be like, all right, that's fine. It wasn't even brought up on a first date. It was something that was an afterthought. And now it's become first date talk. People want to know where you're at.
Goss and his wife Tonya are both pro-Trump and were born and raised in California. But with the growing political tensions, they are considering moving to a more conservative state. For them, the 2018 midterm elections will be decisive.
Yeah, it's become too heavily taxed. We don't get represented fairly. A mass movement's already started of people moving out of California, but we're at least going to give it a chance to try to fight for it a little bit before we take off.
Leaving a liberal state to find refuge in a conservative environment. It's a choice the Chabot family has already made. With his wife and 4 children, Paul Chabot moved right after the presidential election. They left California to settle in Texas.
We basically are refugees from California now living in a red state that is not only accepting of us, but embraces the very values that are so near and dear to us.
Oh, does he really? So he's like, oh yeah.
The former law enforcement officer has created his own company, Conservative Move.
Great house for under 300.
With his partner, Chabot helps Republican families move to red states.
Business owner in California. So we really focus on 3 things. One is helping the families sell their existing home in a blue state. a liberal state, and then 2, helping them identify a home in a conservative state. And the third aspect, and it's if the client's looking for employment, we're building in recruitment. Hey, brother, good to see you, man. Here's a little home warming stuff for you.
Chabot says he's already helped 100 families, among them the Dracopoulos family, who recently moved to Texas.
And this will be kind of like the mini dining area. So plenty of space right here, put more couches, TVs. Yeah. So yeah, we got the kitchen. With California now, when I grew up, it used to be pretty much everybody kind of got along with each other. It wasn't one-sided in everything. Now it's whatever you say is wrong, or especially if you're on the conservative side, your views are being silenced and everything.
Critics accuse Paul Chabot of abandoning the political fight in California and segregating himself into a Republican bubble.
I believe that you've got to fight where you have a fighting chance. And so here in Texas, I think we can create core conservative values that really make up great communities.
Creating conservative communities and keeping the red state of Texas in Republican hands. With President Trump at a record low approval rating, Chabot is already helping campaign for the 2018 midterm elections.
For more on this, I'm now joined in the studio by Jean-Éric Branat, an expert on US society and US politics. He's written several books on the US, including this one, Trumpland, Portrait of a Divided America. Hello, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Now, America, of course, was divided between red states and blue states well before Donald Trump was on the scene. But just to what extent has he exacerbated divisions?
Yeah, what is very striking, and your report shows that there is a concentration of this frustration in a particular geographical sector, which is the West broadly, not only California, but also Oregon and Washington State, and the East with New York, Connecticut, and the neighboring states. The rest of the United States, with the exception of Illinois, which is where Barack Obama was elected, voted for Donald Trump. So there is really a Trump land, which is where you can find the supporters, and the other states. And actually, they're not living the same life, the same American life nowadays. It is very striking because what we've seen on the campuses is actually just a presentation. It's more violent than that. Every weekend there are protesters and
but what is it that they're clashing over?
Yeah,
what are the main issues?
Absolutely. They're clashing over, for example, there are speakers coming to those universities like Ann Coulter, Milo Stephanopoulos, or Richard Spencer, representing the alt-right, and they want to convince the people in this state, particularly in Berkeley or in UCLA or Huntington Beach. You know, there are also small universities hit by the phenomenon, and of course you've got counter-protesters who try to not let them speak in the universities. So there is a question of the First Amendment, the right to speak and express your ideas, which is in jeopardy for those who are favoring those groups or those thoughts. So there is a big clash every weekend, and the police is called very frequently, and it might be very violent, what we hardly see out of the United States, but actually it's exacerbated since the election. It's labeled by a very clear name, which is resistance. So here, it is nearly understandable because there is no resistance to oppose Donald Trump. He was legitimately elected. He respected the rule. He has been elected through a due process of law, and it has to be respected this way. But it was unexpected that he might win the election a year ago. So the shock was very violent in America. And we remember when all those TV stars, Hollywood stars, or Silicon Valley prominent names who tweeted saying, well, what a shock, what happened in America, we have to resist from this wave coming to America, which is a racist, homophobic, and dangerous wave overlapping American politics. So the movement started and never ended.
And we're seeing the Republicans pay the price for his unpopularity. In some states, anyway, New Jersey, Virginia, the governorships going to the Democrats last night. So what is it that they're against exactly, Trump or the Republicans, or are they one and the same?
Actually, it's more complicated than that if you focus on those two elections, especially New Jersey and Virginia. New Jersey is different. The question is about Chris Christie, who was the incumbent governor, was immensely unpopular. So the voters reacted not to Donald Trump when they asked, did you vote? In reaction to Donald Trump, they said no. Only 20% of them pretend to vote against Donald Trump. So it was against Chris Christie. So we put this aside. For Virginia, if you look at the figures that we now have for this poll, the reaction was brought by women and young people who voted against Donald Trump, and they said it was a referendum against Donald Trump. But considering the white vote and the adult vote over 45, it is a steady vote. We've got exactly the same result we had with Donald Trump, except that the turnout was less important than last year. That means that if Donald Trump would run again, certainly he would win Virginia again.
I was going to ask you, actually, because we're running out of time, but if the presidential election were held today, we've been saying he's the most unpopular president in modern US history, but would he actually win?
I think so. This is what I write in my book. I think he will win again, and I think if the situation is still the same in 2020, he is going to be re-elected, because this fierce opposition doesn't mean that the voters will vote this way. Actually, we have to distinguish those who answer to the polls and those who vote. They are not the same people. And Donald Trump was able to drive to the poll station people who never voted or who had stopped voting for a long time, especially the white people, old white people from the rural area.
All right. Well, thank you very much indeed for your time and your analysis, Jean-Éric Brana. And thank you.